It was the kind of October evening that made your skin crawl not from cold, but from anticipation. The streets of our town were quiet, almost too quiet, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Most people were at home, decorating pumpkins or arguing over whether they should let their kids try court treat this year. But I wasn't like most people. I had heard rumors. Whispers of a shop that appeared only once a year, somewhere in the abandoned part of town. Some said it sold the most incredible costumes you could ever imagine. Others warned that those who entered never came back the same. I didn't believe the whispers. At least, I didn't. Until I saw it. It appeared out of nowhere, right at the end of an alley I walked every day. One moment the alley was empty. The next, a faint glow spilled from a small shop with a sign that read, Madame Mortem's Costume Emporium. The windows were foggy, but I could see shapes moving inside costumes that seemed to shimmer and twist, almost alive. My heart raced. Part of me screamed to run. Another part pulled me closer, as if the shop itself wanted me there. A bell rang above the door as I stepped inside. The air smelled of old fabric and something darker like smoke, or maybe fear. The walls were lined with costumes unlike anything I'd seen before. A pirate outfit with a hook that gleamed unnaturally. A Victorian gown that seemed to float as if someone had just stepped out of it. And a mask with eyes that seemed to follow me as I moved. Ah, you've come, a voice said. I turned to see the shopkeeper, an old man with eyes too sharp for his age, and a smile that didn't reach them. I've been expecting you, I laughed nervously. Expecting me. He nodded, slowly, almost like a predator circling its prey. Every year, the shop finds those who need transformation. I swallowed hard. Transformation. He gestured to a costume that glimmered faintly. The perfect costume finds its owner. But once worn. Well, you'll understand soon enough. I stepped closer. The fabric shimmered like liquid night. My reflection in the mirror beside it didn't quite match me. My eyes looked hollow. My smile, wrong. I realized then, with a chill crawling down my spine, that some stories are whispered for a reason. Some shops, some costumes, air never meant to be found, and yet, I couldn't leave. Asterisk. I stood frozen in the middle of the costume shop, my hands trembling as I reached for the shimmering outfit. It wasn't just a costume. I could feel it humming. Alive, like it had been waiting for me. The air around it seemed colder, as if the warmth of the room recoiled from it. Go on, the shopkeeper whispered, his voice barely above a hiss. Yet it echoed inside my skull. Try it on. You'll see your true self. I laughed nervously, though my stomach churned. My true self. Don't worry, he interrupted. You won't be the same afterward. But isn't that what you want? Isn't that why the shop chose you? I didn't answer. I couldn't. I wanted to back away, but my feet refused to move. The costume seemed to pull me toward it, threads reaching out like spider silk. My fingers brushed the fabric, and an electric shiver shot through me. The mirror beside the costume reflected not just my image, but a version of me I didn't recognize. My skin looked paler, almost translucent. My eyes burned with an unnatural light. I wanted to turn away, but curiosity and something darker kept me rooted. Don't be afraid, the shopkeeper murmured, leaning closer. His eyes glinted. Fear makes the transformation more delicious. I swallowed hard. Transformation. Into what? He smiled wider, revealing teeth that seemed too sharp, too white. Into what you were always meant to be. But first, you must wear it. I hesitated. My mind screamed at me to run. Yet, my hand slid forward on its own, gripping the costume. As I lifted it, the fabric seemed to twist around me like a living thing. Threads wrapped around my arms, my legs, my torso, binding me in a snug embrace. It wasn't uncomfortably, it wasn't pleasant either. It was alive, and then, slowly, it began to change. I felt my bones stretching, reshaping. My face burned as if something inside me was rewriting it. I staggered, clutching the counter to keep myself upright. The mirror showed me shifting. My skin darkened. My hair lengthened. My eyes gleamed with a strange, otherworldly fire. I screamed, but no sound came out. My voice had been swallowed. The shopkeeper watched silently, as if observing an artist's work. "Yes. Yes. Perfect," he murmured. "You're almost ready." I tried to rip the costume off, but it clung tighter, as though it had fused with my very skin. Panic clawed at my chest. I could feel the life of the costume flowing into me, infecting me. My heartbeat accelerated. My lungs burned. And yet, I couldn't stop it. Then, a faint whisper filled the room. Not from the shopkeeper, not from the walls, but from the costume itself. Wear me. Become me. Never leave. The sound crawled under my skin. My reflection. My reflection smiled at me. Not me. Something else. Something that belonged in nightmares. I staggered backward, but the shop seemed to grow larger, expanding into shadows that reached out and swallowed the corners of my vision. The walls disappeared. The floor warped. Costumes floated in mid-air, their empty forms twisting and contorting as if mocking me. "Look at yourself," the shopkeeper said, his voice now sounding far away, echoing from some impossible distance. "You are no longer human. You are art. A masterpiece. Forever part of the collection." I turned to run, but the door had vanished. There was no exit. Just costumes and mirrors. Thousands of mirrors, all reflecting versions of me I didn't want to see. Some smiled. Some screamed. Some wept. Then I noticed the other mannequins. Not mannequins. People, faces twisted in terror, bodies fused with fabric. Forever trapped in costumes they could never remove. And they watched me. Their hollow eyes begged for help, but I knew no one could escape. The shopkeeper stepped closer. His hands moved like smoke, shaping the shadows around him. "You can resist if you wish," he said softly. "But resistance is futile. The shop only gives, and it takes." I fell to my knees, tears streaming as the costume continued to rewrite me. My mind fought against it, screaming to remember who I was. My body belonged to someone else now, and then everything went black. When I opened my eyes, I was no longer in the shop as I had known it. The ceiling loomed impossibly high. The racks of costumes stretched into infinity. And the shopkeeper. He was everywhere, in the shadows, in the mirrors, in the very fabric of the air. A soft laugh echoed around me. "Welcome to your new home." I realized then, with a terror I can't describe, that I had been claimed. And the shop. It would appear again next year for someone else. Somewhere deep inside, a part of me still screamed for escape. But the costume, it had one, and I was no longer me. Asterisk, asterisk, the first thing I realized after the costume had claimed me was that time didn't work the way it used to. Outside, it was Halloween night. The night I had entered the shop, but inside, the air was thick, heavy, as if every second stretched into eternity. I stumbled through the endless racks of costumes, each one whispering in voices I almost recognized. Some spoke in my own voice, others in cries I had never heard, yet somehow understood. The mirrors reflected my new form, perfect, terrifying, not me, and yet in some twisted way, a version of me I couldn't ignore. I had to know what this place really was. The shopkeeper appeared beside me, suddenly, as if materializing from the very shadows. His eyes glinted like shards of obsidian. Curiosity, he said softly, is a dangerous thing here. But I admire it. Few understand the shop before it claims them. I wanted answers. I had to ask, what? What is this place? Why does it exist? He chuckled, a sound that crawled under my skin. Ah, the shop is older than memory, older than the town. It was born from desire and from fear. It seeks those who crave transformation or who fear it most. It feeds on them, molds them, and then sets them into the collection. Every costume, every victim is a story. And you are the newest story. I swallowed, horror rising like bile. Collection? What do you mean, are all? All these people. He said, raising a finger. Do not speak too loudly. They might hear you. I glanced around. Hundreds of mannequins, or what looked like mannequins, were scattered throughout the shop. Some moved slightly when I wasn't looking directly at them. Some whispered my name. I realized with dawning terror, they were the previous visitors. Every one of them trapped in a costume, a permanent exhibit of the shop's power. How? How do you choose them? I asked, my voice trembling. The shopkeeper smiled. Ah, it is simple. The shop calls to those who are ready or those who are desperate. Some come willingly. Some try to resist. Either way, they all end up here. And the costume, it chooses. You cannot force it. You cannot trick it. You cannot leave it behind. I took a step back, trying to gather my courage. And what happens if someone refuses? Can they escape? His smile twisted into something darker, almost predatory. Escape. He leaned closer. No one truly escapes. Some, they linger. Some vanish completely. But the shop always waits, always returns. There is a reason it appears once a year. Only then can it find those it seeks, and those it finds are never the same again. I realized, with a cold, sinking dread, that the stories I had heard as a child, rumors whispered around Halloween fires, were all true. The shop appears, chooses, consumes, and disappears until the next year. The shopkeeper turned, gesturing to a particular aisle. You may wish to explore. Learn the rules of the shop. Understand what you are now. Against my better judgment, I followed. The aisle was endless. Costumes floated mid-air, shadows twisting inside the fabric as if alive. I ran my fingers along one that shimmered black and red, a devilish suit. Horns curling upward, fabric pulsing like a heartbeat. A whisper hissed, "Wear me. Be me. Belong to me." I recoiled, but another costume, a fragile, pale gown, called me in a softer, melodic voice. Freedom is only in the choice. Or the surrender. I realized the shop didn't just trap you physically, it tested you mentally. The costumes didn't simply change appearances. They offered promises, temptations, visions of desires you had long buried. Some promised beauty. Some promised power. Some promised revenge, and every choice came at a cost. As I wandered, I noticed an old, tattered costume draped across a mannequin. Unlike the others, it seemed familiar. My heart skipped a beat. On the label stitched into the collar, it read, "The one who escapes will never be free." I shivered. I didn't want to know what it meant, yet something deep inside me drew me closer. Then, suddenly, I heard a sound that froze my blood. Footsteps. Behind me, I spun around. No one, but the shadows moved independently, curling along the walls, creeping closer. And then I heard the whisper again, "Choose. Or be chosen." I realized, with horror, that the shop wasn't just a place. It was a living entity, a predator. It watched, it waited, it tested, and I was already part of it. A sudden idea hit me. Perhaps there was a loophole. Perhaps the shop allowed some who understood its rules to survive. But understanding it would require venturing deeper, far deeper, into the heart of the collection. And so, trembling but determined, I stepped forward toward the center of the shop. The heart of the nightmare. The air grew colder, the shadows darker, the costumes almost screaming in silence. And in the middle of it all, the shopkeeper waited, smiling as if he knew exactly what I was thinking. "Ah," he said softly, "so brave. Or foolish. Let us see which you are." Asterisk, asterisk, the center of the shop was nothing like the aisles I had wandered before. The ceiling here arched impossibly high, fading into darkness that seemed to breathe. The walls, if they could be called walls, were mirrors, endless reflections twisting into infinity. My own reflection multiplied 100 times over, each version distorted, some screaming, some laughing, some watching me, and in the very center, a pedestal. On it rested a costume unlike any I had seen, black as midnight, stitched with silver threads that writhed like living veins. The fabric shimmered, not with light, but with shadow. A mask sat atop it, smooth and featureless, except for 2 holes where eyes should have been. I felt drawn to it. My legs moved before my brain could protest. My reflection in the mirrors whispered encouragement. Wear it, become complete, become eternal. Do not. I tried to resist, but the shopkeeper's voice cut through the air, calm and deadly. "Ah, you found it. The heart of the shop. The costume that binds all others. The one that rules the collection." I froze. "Rules the collection?" "Yes," he said softly, stepping closer. "The shop has a heart, and this is its soul. Every costume, every victim, every story flows into this one. It chooses its wearer, and once worn, you become part of the shop itself." My stomach turned. "You mean I could be trapped forever?" He nodded, eyes gleaming. "Or you could control it. Power beyond imagination, or eternal servitude. The choice is yours." I backed away, heart hammering. The costume seemed to pulse in the darkness, a heartbeat I could feel through the soles of my feet. Whispers filled the room, the voices of all the trapped, echoing in harmony and terror. "Wear me, be me, join us, be free." I realized then the cruel truth. The shop didn't just trap bodies, it trapped souls. Every costume, every mirror, every shadow was a prison. And the heart. It held them all. The shopkeeper circled me like a predator, his shadow stretching impossibly long across the mirrored floor. Many come here seeking escape, or power, or transformation. Few understand. Fewer survive. The heart of the shop tests everything: courage, desire, fear. And it knows what you truly want. Before you do, I swallowed, trembling. "And if I wear it, then you choose. Choose your path. Become master or become part." Eternally, my mind raced. Control, power, freedom, or submission, entrapment, loss of self. I wanted none of it. Yet something inside me whispered, temptation. I approached the pedestal cautiously. The mask seemed to pulse, as if alive. I reached out. My fingers brushed the fabric hand. Suddenly, visions exploded behind my eyes. I saw myself in 1,000 forms. Some heroic, some monstrous, some beautiful, some horrific. I saw people I had known, twisted and trapped, wearing costumes I recognized. I saw the town outside, silent, unaware of the horrors lurking in the alleys. And then, a memory that wasn't mine. A scream, muffled, desperate, begging for release. I stumbled back, gasping. The costume seemed to pulse faster. The whispers rose in a crescendo. "Wear me, be me. Join us. The shopkeeper's voice cut through it all, calm and final. You do not have to wear it. But understand this. The shop does not let go easily. You cannot leave without facing it. The heart tests all who enter. And the test is not always physical. Suddenly, the mirrors around me warped. Faces emerged from the glass, reaching out with skeletal hands. Eyes wide, mouths silent. They clawed toward me. I ran, but the floor shifted beneath me, elongating, folding, twisting. Each step became a struggle against gravity, against reason, against reality itself. I realized, with terror, that the shop center was alive. It moved, breathed, and thought. The heart could see fear. It could taste hesitation, and it wanted me. I felt the mask brush against my cheek, soft, warm, alive. And in that instant, I understood. The shop didn't just claim the body, claimed the mind, the soul. And if I succumbed, if I allowed it, I would become part of the heart. I closed my eyes, willing myself not to touch it. But the costume pulsed against me, whispering in voices I couldn't resist. It promised escape, mastery, power, freedom, all at once. And in the deepest, darkest corner of my mind, I realized the cruelest truth. Even if I ran, the shop would wait. Every year, every Halloween, until I returned. And so, trembling, I made my first choice. A choice that would shape the rest of my existence. Asterisk, asterisk, I froze, my hands hovering inches from the pulsing black costume. The whispers grew louder, louder than my own heartbeat. They filled my mind, wrapping around my thoughts like cold chains. Wear me, be me. Join us. I took a step back, but the floor shifted beneath me, warping like liquid. Racks of costumes twisted and stretched, almost reaching out to snag me. The mirrors rippled, showing not my reflection, but 1,000 versions of myself, each wearing a different costume, each screaming silently, eyes wide with terror. I had to make a choice. And in that instant, I realized the shop didn't give time for hesitation. I lunged forward, grabbing the mask atop the pedestal, thinking, maybe control was possible. Maybe I could master the shop instead of it mastering me. The moment my fingers touched it, the world exploded. Visions tore through me, faces of every person who had entered the shop before me, twisted and trapped. Their eyes pleaded, their mouths moved, but no sound came out. I felt their fear, their desperation, their longing for escape. And then the whispers became voices, clear, sharp, menacing. You are ours. Now, join, or be destroyed. The heart chooses. The heart always wins. My body convulsed. I stumbled backward, but the mask seemed glued to my skin. The costume pulsed, tightening like a living entity, binding my hands, my arms, my chest. It was no longer fabric. It was flesh, shadow, and bone. Intertwining with me, the shopkeeper appeared before me, calm and eerily patient. Ah, so bold, so foolish. The heart rewards courage and punishes arrogance. You may think you control it, but the shop always controls the wearer. Always. I screamed, though again, no sound came out. My reflection in the mirrors screamed for me, a chorus of terror I could feel vibrating inside my skull. And then, I began to change. My bones shifted, elongated. My skin became a dark, shadowy texture, flowing like liquid night. My eyes glowed with unnatural fire. My voice had become the whispers themselves. I realized with horror that I was no longer separate from the shop. I was part of the heart now. And yet, a fragment of me resisted. Deep inside, a spark of my old self flared. I remembered the alley where the shop first appeared. I remembered the foggy streets, the ordinary Halloween night I had left behind. I realized that even the heart, powerful as it was, depended on the will of those it consumed. I focused on that spark. I willed myself to fight, to resist the costume's pull. The shadows around me convulsed. The mirrors rippled violently. The whispers turned into screams of rage and confusion. The shopkeeper's smile faltered for the first time. "You? Dare resist," he whispered, his voice sharp now, like a blade against glass. "No one has ever resisted the heart." I didn't answer. I reached within, grasping the fragment of myself that still existed beneath the darkness. I tore at the costume. It screamed. Or maybe I screamed. Or maybe it was both. The fabric shadow, flesh, magic shredded, unraveling against my will and my fury. The mirrors cracked, 1,000 splintering reflections shattering the infinite illusions around me. The shop trembled, groaned, and pulsed, as if wounded. And then, silence. I stumbled back, panting, my body trembling. The mask lay at my feet, broken into pieces. The costume gone. The shopkeeper gone. The mirrors reflected only me. My reflection, finally, looked like myself again. I thought I had one. But as I stepped toward the exit, the air shifted. A faint glow appeared at the far end of the aisle, the same pale, seductive light I had seen when I first entered. And a whisper, soft and cold, tickled the edge of my consciousness. "Next year. We will meet again." I ran. The alley was empty, silent, as if nothing had ever been there. The fog curled around my legs, the normal sounds of Halloween children laughing, leaves crunching filtered through. I was back. Safe, or so I thought, but I could feel it. The shop had marked me. A fragment of its heart had clung to me, invisible, waiting. I could feel the whispers beneath my skin, faint, almost gentle. And I knew, with a sick, sinking certainty, it would return. And next year, I would not be able to resist so easily. The costume shop, the heart, the collection, was patient, and it never forgot. I walked home that night, haunted. Haunted not just by the memories of the shop, but by the feeling that part of it walked with me, inside me, waiting for the next Halloween. And I knew, deep down, that my story, my torment, was only just beginning. Asterisk, asterisk, the next morning, I woke with a start, drenched in sweat. The street outside my window was quiet, bathed in pale October sunlight. For a moment, I thought it had all been a dream, the shop, the heart, the costume. But then I felt it. A faint pulse beneath my skin, subtle, rhythmic, like a heartbeat that wasn't mine. A whisper in my mind, soft, almost gentle. "We are here, waiting." I froze. The shop hadn't vanished. It had left a fragment of itself inside me, a seed, a tether. And I could feel it lurking beneath my thoughts, watching, whispering. I tried to shake it off. "It's over," I muttered to myself. I survived. I escaped. But the fragment wouldn't be ignored. My reflection in the bathroom mirror was wrong. Not entirely, but subtle. My eyes glimmered faintly in unnatural shades. My smile lingered a moment too long, unnaturally curved. And when I blinked, the reflection smirked back at me. Not me, something else. Something patient at first. It was small. I would hear faint footsteps behind me when I was alone. Shadows shifted in my peripheral vision. Objects, small things, moved on their own. A coat draped on a chair would be slightly twisted when I returned. A hat on a hook would tilt as if trying to hint something. Then came the whispers. Always at the edge of consciousness, soft, insistent. "We're me. Join us. Come back." I tried to resist. I tried to pretend it wasn't there. But each day, it grew stronger. At work, at home, walking down the street, tiny flashes of movement, whispering voices, glimpses of shadow that didn't belong. I realized with growing dread that the shop's heart had marked me. The fragment inside me was patient, persistent, and infinitely clever. One night, as I walked through the quiet streets, I saw it. Or rather, them. Figures in the distance, walking unnaturally, costumes flowing around them like liquid. Hollow eyes, faces pale, frozen in terror or joy. It was the collection. And they weren't mannequins this time. They were alive, or part of the living shop. They stopped, turned, and looked at me. And I knew they were waiting for me to return. The fragment inside me pulsed. Stronger, hotter, and then I heard it. Clear as a scream. Next year. We meet again. You belong to us. Panic surged. I ran. I could feel the shadows lengthening behind me, reaching, stretching toward my soul. Every step I took, the fragment pulsed faster, thrumming like a heartbeat in my chest. I realized the shop didn't just exist in one place. Its influence followed its reach, endless. And I had no idea when or where it would appear again. Sleep became impossible. Every dream, every nightmare was haunted by the shop, the heart, the whispering costumes. I saw versions of myself trapped, warped, laughing, screaming, begging. And in every dream, the shopkeeper stood at the center, arms outstretched, smiling patiently. I couldn't tell anyone. Who would believe me? They would call me crazy. And worse, the fragment whispered if I tried to speak of it, do not tell. It is not your secret to share. Only return. Only become. Days turned to weeks. Every reflection, every shadow, reminded me that I was no longer fully myself. The fragment inside me pulsed, urging me, tempting me. And slowly, terrifyingly, I realized it had begun to influence me. My desires, my moods, my thoughts. I laughed at things I shouldn't. I felt anger I didn't know was mine. And somewhere deep inside, part of me wanted it. And then, one night, I received a note. No handwriting I recognized. The paper was black, the ink silver. It read simply, "We await you." October 31st approaches. The shop remembers. The heart remembers. You belong. I dropped the note. My hands shook. My heart raced. The fragment pulsed. The whispers surged. And I understood, with sickening clarity, that Halloween wasn't just a date on a calendar. It was a deadline. And the shop would return. I wasn't safe. Not yet. And I wasn't free. October 15th came like a shadow over my life. Every mirror I passed whispered at me. Every shadow moved with intent. The fragment inside me pulsed constantly, like a second heartbeat, and every time it pulsed, I felt a pull-in, invisible tether dragging me closer to the shop. It started small. The wind seemed to carry whispers, faint words I almost couldn't catch, calling my name. My reflection flickered, sometimes smiling when I wasn't. And then I noticed it in the city. Streets. People wearing costumes that weren't their own. Faces twisted subtly, expressions off, eyes to hollow, to knowing. They weren't alive, not fully. They were echoes. And they looked at me, always at me. The fragment pulsed harder when I tried to ignore them. It was a rhythm I could feel in my bones now, a drumbeat of inevitability. Halloween was coming. The shop would return. And I was already a part of it. I tried to distract myself, to ignore it. I threw myself into work, into mundane routines, anything to dull the pulse beneath my skin. But the whispers followed me everywhere. Relentless. We are waiting. The heart remembers. You belong. Sleep became impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, the shop appeared. Endless aisles stretching into darkness. The heart costume pulsating, waiting. And the shopkeeper, patient, smiling. Circling me like a shadow I could not escape. Then, one night, I woke to find my reflection missing. Not just warped or flickering gone. My bathroom mirror was just empty glass. And behind me, in the corner of the room, a costume, black, pulsing faintly with that same heartbeat. No mask this time. Just the fabric, folded neatly, waiting. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw it away. But my hands moved of their own accord. The fragment within me pulsed, urging me closer. I could hear the whispers in my own voice now. Where me? Complete yourself, return. I staggered back. It was no longer subtle. The shop's influence was reaching through space itself, bleeding into the real world. And I realized the horrifying truth. The fragment inside me wasn't just a memory of the shop. It was a bridge. It was calling me back. The next day, on my commute, I saw it again. A shadow at the corner of a quiet street. A flicker of light faint, otherworldly. A small bell tinkled in the distance, though no one was there. And the whispers grew louder, clearer. October 31st. We will meet again. Do not resist. I tried to speak to someone to warn them, but the words wouldn't come. The fragment choked my tongue. And when I looked around, everyone on the street was staring at me, faces blank, masks stitched over their expressions. They weren't real people. Not fully. Just extensions of the shop, watching, waiting. Panic surged. I ran. I didn't know where to go home, work, anywhere, but every street seemed to twist around me. Shadows lengthened, buildings loomed, impossibly high. And the whispering followed me wherever I went. By October 28th, it was unbearable. Every reflection, every shadow, every sound pulsing, whispering, calling me. I could no longer tell where I ended and the shop began. And in that moment, I understood the fragment wasn't just marking me. It was preparing me, training me, testing me. Halloween was coming. And I would have to face the shop again. The heart would be waiting. And this time, it would not be patient. I knew it wasn't enough to survive. I had to be ready. I had to understand the heart, or I would be lost forever, a part of the shop's collection, another whisper in the endless aisles. And as I lay awake that night, feeling the fragment pulse beneath my skin like a second heartbeat, I whispered to myself, half hope, half fear, I will not be claimed. Not yet. I will find a way. But even as I said it, the pulse quickened as if mocking me. The shop was coming, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. Halloween night arrived like a storm. The streets were alive with laughter, glowing jack-o'-lanterns, and the innocent chaos of children in costumes. But for me, the night was a countdown. Every tick of the clock, every rustle of leaves, every shadow stretched longer, reaching toward me, reminding me of the fragment pulsing beneath my skin. I knew it was time. The shop would appear. I could feel it calling, tugging, growing stronger with each passing second. And I knew there would be no hesitation this time. The heart would demand me fully, or I would be lost forever. I walked the streets cautiously, my senses on edge. Every alley, every empty lot seemed alive. And then, I saw it at the end of a fog-laden alley. The faint glow appeared. A flickering sign barely visible through the mist. Madame Mortem's Costume Emporium. It was more real than ever, more solid, as if it had been waiting for me. My pulse raced. The fragment beneath my skin screamed, urging me forward. I hesitated. My mind screamed at me to turn, to run, to escape. But something deeper, darker, whispered, "This is your fate. Embrace it." I stepped inside. The air was thick with the familiar smell of old fabric, and something far darker fear. Shadows stretched impossibly, costumes twisted unnaturally, and the mirrors reflected hundreds of versions of me. All warped, all trapped, all screaming silently. The shopkeeper appeared, as if he had been waiting in the shadows. "Ah, you have returned," he said softly. "I knew you would." The heart, it remembers, and it waits for those it desires most. I swallowed hard. I'm ready. I'll face it. His smile widened, sharp and cruel. "Ready? We shall see." The aisle opened into the center of the shop. The heart costume pulsed in the dim light, threads writhing like living veins. The mask atop it shimmered, calling to me. My legs moved of their own accord. I could not resist. I reached out. The moment my fingers touched it, the world convulsed. Shadows screamed. Mirrors shattered. Whispers became screams. The air was thick, suffocating, alive. And then the heart spoke, "Welcome to your destiny. Choose or be claimed." The costume wrapped around me instantly, threads coiling, reshaping, fusing with my body. Pain shot through my limbs as the transformation began again. My skin darkened, my eyes glowed, my body shifted in ways I could not control. The fragment inside me pulsed with the shop's heartbeat, faster, stronger, demanding obedience. I screamed, but no sound emerged. The shopkeeper circled me like a predator, calm and patient, his eyes gleaming with satisfaction. Yes, yes, feel it, become it. Become part of the collection. But deep inside, I remembered the spark, the fragment of myself that had survived before. I focused on it, clinging to it as the costume tried to consume me fully. I fought, every fiber of my being resisted. Shadows twisted violently around me. The mirrors reflected endless torment, but I pressed on, fighting the pull of the heart. Then, the final surge, I wrenched free. The threads unraveled. The costume recoiled, and the heart pulsed violently, as if wounded. The shop trembled. The shopkeeper's smile faltered. "You dare resist," he whispered, his voice sharp, dangerous. "No one has ever resisted fully." I staggered back, my body trembling. I am not yours." The shopkeeper laughed softly, low and menacing. "Perhaps not yet. But you are still marked. The heart never forgets." I turned and ran, sprinting down the endless aisles, past floating costumes, past screaming reflections, past the dark, pulsing heart. And then stumbled into the alley where I had first seen the shop. Outside, the fog had thickened, and the city seemed impossibly quiet. The shop's glow flickered once, twice, and then vanished, leaving only the empty alley, the silent night, and the knowledge that it would return next year. But the fragment inside me pulsed still, weak now, but alive. And I knew. It was patient, waiting, learning, planning. The shop had not lost me. It had only postponed my inevitable return. I had survived Halloween night, but I would never be free. The protagonist has survived, but the shop's influence lingers. How will it continue to haunt him in the year ahead? Can he ever truly escape, or is the curse eternal? Asterisk, asterisk, the days after Halloween were unbearable. I returned to the routines of life work, errands, the mundane rhythm of a normal existence. But normal had abandoned me. The fragment pulsed beneath my skin, faint but persistent, like a shadow tethered to my soul. Whispers echoed at the edges of my consciousness, soft, patient, and insistent. "We are here, waiting, always." At first, it was subtle, a flicker in my reflection, a shadow stretching just a little too far, a costume left on a chair, folded perfectly, that I could swear hadn't been there moments before. But gradually, the influence grew. People around me began to change, or, At least, I began to perceive them differently. Their eyes would flicker for a split second, reflecting something that wasn't human. A smile that lingered too long, a laugh that echoed oddly in my ears. I started avoiding mirrors because every reflection seemed to whisper, "Next year. Next year. Next year." The fragment inside me pulsed every night, reminding me that I had been marked. It wasn't just a memory of the shop. It was an extension of the shop itself, reaching through time, through space, tethering me, testing me. I tried to fight it. I tried to live as I had before, but sleep became a battlefield. Nightmares weren't dreams, they were visits. The shop reappeared in my bedroom, twisting and impossible aisles stretching beyond reason, costumes writhing, mirrors reflecting endless versions of me trapped in terror. And in the center, the heart pulsing, waiting, whispering, "Return. Join us. You belong." I realized something horrifying. The shop was teaching me, preparing me. It had marked me so that when Halloween returned, it would not need to fight. I would walk willingly into the heart. And worse, part of me wanted to. One night, the whispers were different. Clear, personal. You can't hide. We see you. We know you. You belong to us. I looked around my apartment. Shadows twisted along the walls, reaching, stretching, mimicking the shapes of costumes I had seen in the shop. I tried to speak aloud, to remind myself that I was free, that I had survived. But the fragment interfered. My voice cracked, my tongue stiffened. The whispers became my own voice. Come. Return. I left my apartment. I walked the streets at night, trying to distance myself from the creeping influence. But the city had changed. Every alley looked like the one where the shop had appeared. Every shop window reflected the glow of the impossible costume emporium. And always, always in the periphery. Shadows moved with intent. Weeks passed. October returned. The air thickened. Fog rolled through the streets. The pulse inside me grew faster, stronger. The whispers were no longer at the edge of my mind. They filled it. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't escape, and then, on October 30th, I saw it again. A flicker in the distance. A glow from the far end of a fog-filled alley. The shop had returned. Solid. Real. Waiting, the fragment within me pulsed violently, screaming in anticipation. I was drawn toward it. The city fell away, leaving only me and the inevitability. I understood the truth with crushing clarity. The shop didn't just appear. It called, it marked, and it would never let go. I had survived once. But survival was only temporary. Halloween night was coming. And the heart. The heart would finally demand completion. I ran. I hid. I tried to resist. But I knew, deep down, that nothing would stop me from returning. Nothing would prevent me from becoming part of the shop, because the fragment inside me had already begun to win. Halloween night arrives again. The protagonist faces the ultimate confrontation with the heart. Will he survive this time? Or will the shop finally claim him entirely? And what is the shocking twist that changes everything? Halloween night returned like a predator. The fog rolled in, thick and silent, swallowing the streets. The laughter of children and the glow of jack-o'-lanterns were drowned out by the whispering inside my skull. The fragment pulsed violently, urgent, insistent. Tonight, we claim you. You belong. I knew the shop had returned. I didn't need to see it. I could feel it. Every shadow, every corner, every reflection trembled with its presence. The heartbeat beneath my skin, the fragments synchronized with it. I could not escape, and yet, this time, I was prepared. I walked the streets cautiously, shadows twisting toward me. Then, at the end of the alley, there it was. Glowing faintly, impossibly tall, alive. The sign flickered. Madame Mortem's Costume Emporium. I stepped forward. The air inside the shop was heavier than before. Every costume floated, every mirror shimmered, and in the center, the heart pulsing, waiting, and the shopkeeper smiling, calm, patient. "You've returned," he said softly, "and you bring your resolve, or your weakness. Let us see which prevails." I swallowed my fear. "I'm not yours," I said. The words trembled, but I meant them. "Ah," he said, voice low and sharp. "But part of you already belongs. The fragment remembers. It waits, it whispers, it obeys." The heart pulsed violently, threads writhing, reaching toward me. The fragment inside me screamed, urging surrender. Every instinct told me to give in. Every memory of terror told me to resist. I ran toward the pedestal. The threads lashed out, wrapping around my limbs, my torso, my face. The costume attempted to fuse with me, to consume me fully. I screamed, silent, struggling. The mirrors reflected thousands of trapped versions of myself, screaming, twisting, begging. And for a terrifying moment, I felt myself slipping, becoming one with the heart. And then, I remembered the spark. The fragment of me that had resisted before. I clung to it with everything I had. I focused, poured my will, my identity, my humanity into it. The shop screamed. The mirrors cracked violently. The costumes writhed as if alive, struggling against some force they could not resist. The shopkeeper's smile faltered, his calm demeanor cracking. "You cannot," he hissed, voice shaking. "No one resists completely." I reached the pedestal. With a final desperate effort, I grabbed the heart costume and yanked. The threads shrieked, unraveling, pulling against themselves. The mask shattered. The room trembled. The mirrors splintered, and then silence. The shop collapsed inward, shadows disintegrating. The costumes fell to the floor, inert, lifeless. The shopkeeper vanished. The fog outside dissipated. The city streets returned to normal. I stumbled outside. I was exhausted, trembling, but alive. The fragment inside me had weakened, almost gone. I thought, maybe it was over. Then I glanced at my reflection in a puddle. Not entirely me. My eyes glimmered faintly. Shadows lingered at the edges of my vision. And then I saw a thread, black as night, pulsing faintly, buried beneath my skin. Whispering in a voice I could barely hear. "We are patient. Next year, we will meet again." I swallowed hard. I had survived. But the shop, the heart, the curse, they were eternal. And I was marked forever. Halloween was over. For now, but I knew one truth. Some doors once opened never fully close, and some stores appear only once a year. To collect what they desire most, I walked away, haunted, but alive. The streetlights flickered behind me. A jack-o'-lantern glimmered in the fog. And somewhere, far away, a faint bell tinkled, waiting, watching. Patient, the nightmare was not gone. It had only paused, and I would never be free. Asterisk, asterisk, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. See you in the next one. Peace out.